You said it was meant to bankrupt China, Russia, the Arabs. You said, but it's also going to bankrupt us. So you've said this before. You're not even making new predictions. You're just pointing out that what he said was going to happen next. So far, I mean, who could have imagined he was right? So explain what happens next.
Well, yeah, but everybody thought I was crazy back then, Alex.
I didn't think you were crazy. I know that you worked with Atlantic Richfield, and I know everything you said before was true, so...
Yeah, but talk show hosts laughed at me. They said, this can't possibly happen. I even had on one show a very reputable individual who is right at the very top in the financial world. And I said, this man said to me that it's going to bankrupt the Arabs. He said, oh, come on, Chaplain. He said, you can't possibly bankrupt the Arabs. He said, they're too well fixed.
I'll tell you how you bankrupt them. You get them leveraged in derivatives in the 1.5 quadrillion, 1,500 trillion. They're all extended in the debt bubble that the Rothschilds and Rockefellers set up. So you can see the master setup.
100 years ago, the Arabs were nothing but nomads roaming the deserts riding camels, and they're going to put them back in the same position they were 100 years ago.
They always set everybody up. They build them up and then knock them down.
Yes, and if you look at history, you find that every somewhere between 75 and 100 years, whoever the power elite happened to be at that time, they will destroy one culture and build another, and they're in the process right now of destroying the Arabs. They're going to take away the middle class of America. They're going to build new structures in Indonesia and Russia.
And he told you this. And he told you this.
He told me this. He said every bit of this is going to happen. And then when I called him back and asked him, I said, let me ask you something. I don't want to get in trouble. You know, you've already threatened me, and I had to pull my website. By the way, it's not even up there anymore. We finally cut it out altogether. I had to. They demanded of me.
Why did he do that? I mean, why did he say, you're allowed to tell them that we're going to do this, but don't talk about how we've got plenty of oil anymore?
Oh, yeah. America is definitely going to be kept obligated to the rest of the world for oil. Now, here's what's going to happen, though. Watch it. Folks, I beg of you, prepare right now. You remember 1929 was the Great Depression and the stock market crash.
Yes.
1932, before there were lines, soup lines, downtown New York. You are right now in that intermediary state between 1929 and 1932.
Exactly. People don't know that it takes 2 to 3 years to fully unfold, which is what all our experts, from Bob Chapman to Colonel, to Paul Craig Roberts, to Stiglitz, to Gerald Salente, they're all saying the same thing.
Okay, now you say, what's going to happen? First question you have is, how is this going to affect my dinner table? I'm going to read it to you. Here it is, right? It just came off the news wires a day or two ago. Iceland, about 2 to 3 months ago, declared bankruptcy. Do you want to know what's happening to them today? This is a perfect example of what is going to happen to America. You want to know what's going to happen? Here it is.
The store shelves are empty. Everything's bankrupt. The people are panicking.
300,000 inhabitants of Reykjavik, Iceland, are stunned on how fast the standard of living has dropped. Overnight, the people lose their savings. Prices are soaring. Once crowded restaurants are almost empty. Banks are rationing foreign currency, and companies are finding it difficult to do business abroad. Inflation is 16% and rising. People have stopped traveling overseas. The local currency, the krona, was 65 to the dollar a year ago. It is now 130. Companies are slashing salaries, reducing work hours, and in some instances embarking on mass layoffs. That is exactly what's going to take place in America, and you've got the perfect example in what happened to Iceland. Get ready. You've got 6 to 9 months, possibly 1 year, and this individual said, and I'm going to give you the identical words that he used, because I'm afraid to use any other words. He told me that I'd better be very careful in how I say this. He said, America will see a financial collapse that will be so great that it will take years to come out of it.
Lindsey Williams, through a mutual friend, I got to know, just, barely know, but know, someone worth more than $5 billion, on the record, $5 billion, a lot more than that, who owned a defense contracting company. They said 2 years ago, and that's why they left, they said they had to be gone by early 2008, that they had to be out of the country because, quote, the United States will not exist for all intents and purposes. And then now we have the Army reports and others, they know because they're doing it, that they plan to make this a post-industrial Mad Max Road Warrior country. Now, I hope that doesn't happen, but they are trying to do it. You think they're going to be able to do that, Lindsey?
I think they're going to be able to, and this fits in perfectly, Alex, with a statement that this individual made to me. And I've thought back over the conversation so many times, and just the other day I said, okay, I'm going to start using this. I don't know whether it meant what he said or not. At the end of the conversation, I said, now, Mr., and I called him my name, this man that knows everything that goes on behind closed doors, that had called me the middle of June, I said, now, our family has actually, literally, I'm not joking with you, we have literally considered going back into the ministry. And he said, Chaplain, I think that would be a very good idea. He said, for you and for us. And Alex, then I thought over the next words that he said. He said, Chaplain, I would highly recommend that you do that. And he said, I wish you the very best in what you do. He said, I would highly recommend that you leave America and go to the mission field. I have wondered since then, was that man trying to tell me something?
Unbelievable. Well, I mean, when you're talking to well-known billionaires and they are scared, shaking, going, you're right about everything. You're right. They run it all. You can't believe how evil they are. Get out of here. Get out of here. I mean, folks, they're not playing games. They're not playing games, and I want all the cops to know that. You're going to be asked to do unholy things.
Well, Alex, again, let me reiterate. And some people have a very difficult time hearing what you say. And when I said it was going to $50 a barrel, so many people laughed at me they didn't have time to hear what I was saying. Well, it did that yesterday, $50 a barrel. Now, please hear the second thing I'm saying. It is going to stay $1.50 a gallon at the gas pump. Take that trip at Christmas. Go to Grandma's house at Thanksgiving. Have a good time and enjoy $1.50 a gallon right now while you can afford to pay for it, because the price of the gasoline is not going up. But the money that you have to pay for that gasoline with is not going to enable you to even pay $1.50 a gallon 6 months to a year from now.
Explaining they've cut the money supply off to the people while gorging the banks full of it to buy everything up. They've made themselves cash flush with our tax money. They've cut the blood supply off to the economy. It is literally dying like a zombie or somebody who just had a heart attack and's got 3-4 minutes to get their heart going again before the brain dies. Lindsey, here's the $64 million question, or the $64 trillion question. Did he say that there was any way to avoid this, any way to get out of this, that there was any chance they weren't going to do this?
He made no indication whatsoever that there was any way around this, and the reason is they want to totally bankrupt the Arabs, and in order to do that, they must keep the price of crude oil at $50 a barrel for an extended period of time. That's the reason they're not going back up on this price anytime soon, and they will succeed in accomplishing their purpose and building new cultures and destroying the old, and in the process of it, America is going to suffer.
Well,
now,
Lindsey, you know, I'm here in Texas, and I don't know any big oil company heads, but there's a lot of wildcats that are, you know, billion-dollar, $500 million companies. Well, I mean, each well might cost $20 million to drill these deep ones. So they're, you know, in hundreds of millions of operating capital a week. And I have talked to oil company owners who I run into and who I know in some of the circles of people I know. And people say, well, say their names. I wouldn't know them anymore if I did, folks. This is why you don't tell your sources. And I remember a year ago, before you even said this, they said, well, it's not going to be high forever. So that's why there's a lot of drilling and a lot of, you know, oil and gas being pumped out now. He said it's probably going to go down for a while, and then was giggling about it. So this is probably not a big secret within the oil company executive class.
But, Alex, here's the beauty of this. When this man told me this, the middle of June, everybody, you're crazy. No way. Now, folks, it has taken place. And if what he said about this is taking place exactly like he said it was going to, I thought it would take a little bit longer than this. But since it has taken place exactly like he said it was going to, you can depend on the other things to take place also. Folks, you have a few months to get ready. I beg of you, Prepare the lifestyle that you are willing to live in light of what's going to happen. Now, that price of gasoline is not going to go back up from $1.50 a gallon at the gas pump. It's going to stay there. But the currency that you have to buy that gasoline with is not going to be available.
That's right. They've created a debt bubble. They've created a debt bubble by cutting the money off. It's impossible for the economy to operate, for people to keep businesses going, be able to pay their bills. Lindsey, I don't have that fancy of a house, but, any house here costs $400,000 or so, $300,000. Should I sell that and move into a farm shack right now?
That's something that you'll have to decide according to the lifestyle that you're willing to live. And the thing I'm telling people is, please.
But a 4-bedroom is $300,000. Small middle class 4 bedrooms, $400,000 in Austin because of the real estate bubble. It was $150,000, 6, 7, 8 years ago. I guess I just because I don't have I moved to the countryside in a shack because I get that money out. What do I do?
Well, sit down with your family, first of all, and discuss what lifestyle you're willing to live in light of what's going to take place. Listen to Alex Jones every day so you'll know what's taken place for the past 24 hours. And then, once you've decided what lifestyle you're willing to live,